Hi everybody, welcome back to Trip Tracker special show in the air. Of course, no surprises for guessing. We would have also not wanted to join you so early, except for the fact that we would wanted to join you so early if this would have been an absolute one-sided show. Lakin, this match has been abandoned due to the rain. Now, Bengaluru, of course, is known for fantastic weather. Let me, rest assure you that as a city, it's known for its beautiful weather, but not in such circumstances, jahan pe rain becomes the villain. Now, coming back to the particular series, it has been level because two India won and South Africa also won two. So this was, of course, a do or die for the particular series. So probably India's dream of winning this one at home will have to wait, courtesy Bengaluru way. Now, let me come to my guest. I also see a lot of comments coming in saying that, this is the worst part of cricket, that the match is getting abandoned due to rain. I'll start with you, Pratyay. Like I said, the dream of India to win this, series at home against South Africa will have to wait a little bit. Also, there was nothing like a reserve day kept in mind, which is quite interesting, actually. What's your takeaway from the fact that it's level now?
Well, it's a shame, of course. I mean, because the series was so evenly poised, all of us wanted to get a result, of course. But whether it's something you cannot really control, and when it comes to Bengaluru, it's no point predicting. But as I said, I mean, in June, if you are keeping a match in Bengaluru, you are taking that risk for sure. And I think that the organizers ended up paying for that risk. But India have not won a series against South Africa at home since 2011. So South Africa would be very pleased by this because how things went out. I mean, in this series, taking a 2-0 lead, then allowing India to jump back. But I still think that with that sort of a momentum that India had managed to build in the previous two games, I felt that in this game probably it was India who were actually going in as favorites. So I think that of course both the teams would be disappointed, and we can really only conjecture at this point of time. We can only guess what could have happened because the match did not happen. But I still feel that India kind of had an edge. So I think as an Indian supporter, as an Indian fan, the hosts would be more disappointed than the visitors because this was a great chance for them to win. And what a story it would have been. I mean, 2-0 down and then winning 3-2, but not to be.
All right, Chirag, coming to you, you were super excited as well, like any other team India fan. लेकिन ये तो हुआ नहीं बारिश की वजह से. Generally, लोगों को बेंगलुरु की बारिश बहुत पसंद होती है, बेंगलुरु की weather की, but definitely not in the circumstances जैसे कि आज हुआ. But looking at the series overall, जैसे कि प्रत्यय ने भी कहा, the first two clearly went in South Africa's hand. At one point, ऐसा लगा कि India शायद ये जीत भी नहीं पाएगी. Third and fourth सब बोल रहे थे कि changes lao. But of course, that combination. Just to look at एक series अगर recap करें, आपको सबसे खास बात ये series का क्या लगा? Of course, Rishabh Pant's captaincy as well was tried and tested in this one, or was it Dinesh
Right.
Karthik's performance? What did you really like about the series?
राइट निवेदना पहले तो आपने प्रेडिक्ट किया था कि बारिश होगी और वो हो गई तो वो गलत क्या आपने बोल दिया मतलब ऐसा हो ही गया तो क्या हुआ कि ऋषभ पंत के पास देखो बहुत बड़ा चांस था सीरीज जीतने का और एज अ कैप्टन और ऊपर से दिनेश कार्तिक अच्छे फॉर्म में थी तो एक और मैच मिलता तो कहीं ना कहीं कॉन्फिडेंस आता बड़ी टीम के अगेंस्ट खेलते और फिर वो कॉन्फिडेंस लेकर T20 वर्ल्ड कप में जाते तो वो एक अलग ही बूस्ट होता है अगर सीरीज की बात करें तो सभी प्लेयर्स ने अपना 100% दिया अब आवेश खान को देखो पहले 3 मैचेस में आई थिंक विकेटलेस रहे पर फोर्थ मैच में अच्छा कमबैक करा तो अभी देखो टीम में कॉन्फिडेंस तो है क्योंकि मैनेजमेंट ने उन सभी प्लेयर्स को बैक किया जो फर्स्ट T20I से टीम खेलती आ रही थी वही फोर्थ तक चली और फिफ्थ तक चली एक्चुअली तो आई मीन टीम ने ओवरऑल जो टीम का परफॉर्मेंस था वो बेहतरीन था ये टीम कमबैक करने के लिए जानी जाती है और हमें देखा अगर इन केस आगे कुछ ऐसा सिचुएशन हो कि टीम इंडिया बहुत डू और डाई वाले सिचुएशन में हो तो हम समझ सकते हैं कि टीम इंडिया में वो जज्बा है कि वो कमबैक कर सकती है जो उन्होंने दिखाया है सीरीज में तो आई थिंक सीरीज में इंडिया का परफॉर्मेंस साउथ अफ्रीका से थोड़ा ऊपर रहा
Okay, now that is one way to look at it, right? And also a lot of interesting performances in this particular series. लेकिन दूसरी तरफ, in the pre-match of this particular show, we were talking about how Temba Bavuma was not going to be, leading the team. Was it going to be a big boon for Team India? लेकिन दूसरी तरफ, Keshav Maharaj was leading South Africa. So talking about that aspect as well, Pratyay, we thought syllabus में पढ़ के आया था, पढ़ के आए थे कि Temba was going to be missing. but it was the rain that actually, turned out to be the spoil sport. But Doshi Taraf, who were you really impressed with in terms of the South African side? If you were to pick two names in this particular series, आपका क्या कहना है?
See, I think they showed great strength. I mean, particularly if you talk about after that game, I mean, when they single-handedly changed things, I think Rassi van der Dussen kind of went a little bit out of form. But I think that partnership in that game when they ended up winning with David Miller was a match-changing partnership. Being able to chase a 200 plus total with that kind of ease, क्योंकि जब भी आप 200 रन लगाते हैं बोर्ड पर तो आपको अगर चेस करना है, you have to constantly keep a foot on the pedal. और उस सिचुएशन में आई स्टिल रिमेंबर व्हेन वैंडरडसन एंड मिलर हैड स्टार्टेड टू bat, that was not the easiest of situations. But despite that, they managed to win, take a lead. Whenever you come to India, we have been talking about that this is not their strongest side. There are so many players missing, but you still know that despite those players missing, this was still a pretty good side. So managing to take that 2-0 lead was, I think, down to that performance in the first game. So I think Rassi van der Dussen was one of the players who actually managed to surprise. Secondly, I think if you actually were to not even just pinpoint, I think the best part about this team in South Africa, this series, what we saw was that different players stood up for them. So if it was Van der Dussen and Miller in the first game, you saw Klaasen doing his wonders in the second. In that game,
Right.
he was completely, he went bonkers, that kind of a knock, and it was not the easiest of tracks again where he was batting. Bowling was slightly, a little jittery in that game as well. But I think that India would miss having lost that game because I still feel that the kind of start that Bhuvneshwar Kumar had given 3 wickets in the power play, if you were not being able to capitalize upon that, I think that was one game where India should have actually managed to, hold South Africa by their neck and should have managed to clinch it. Had that game been won by them, then they would have been leading the series instead of 2-0. It would have been instead of 2-all, it would have been 3-1 in their favor. But I think that if you talk about the players, I think David Miller was a great delight to watch. Quinton de Kock, they missed out. I mean, he was one of the players who, because of injury, he had to miss out on a couple of games. So
Yeah.
he was not there in the scheme of things. But I think these two players, that one partnership was one of the most, I would say, the iconic moments of the series that you will really remember, because not every day do you come to India and you manage to add 130 runs, 131 odd runs in that dramatic a fashion and manage to clinch the series. But I still feel that South Africa would be delighted by the fact that they have not lost, because not just, I mean, yes, the records would tell you that they haven't lost a series here since 2011. But when
Yeah.
you look at the strength of this team, आपको यही लगेगा शायद कि 2011 से लेकर के अभी की जो इंडिया की टी20 टीम है उसमें बहुत ज्यादा बदलाव आ चुका है. इंडिया इज अ लॉट मोर फॉर्मिडेबल नाउ. So I
Yeah.
think managing to even tie a series, uh, of course, with the result washed out in the last game, I still feel that South Africa did really well. I mean, first to take 2-0 of a lead, and then managing to, even after losing. I mean, even in those games, I think, of course, India was pretty impressive, but South Africa did manage to perform and did manage to hold on to a few phases of the game. So I think all in all, they would be pretty satisfied with the series. And I think the scoreline eventually, if you look at the series from the broader perspective, you will feel that this was the most judicious sort of a scoreline, because both the teams in the first two games, you saw South Africa doing what they did. India bounced back really strong. So I think that yes, this scoreline kind of does justice to the kind of series we had.
Okay, so basically, Pratyay has wrapped it up from the aspect of the series, jahan pe what worked really for South Africa, how India bounced back. But
Right.
like he said, he took one name, which is Bhuvaneshwar Kumar's, and like probably in that match, we also felt like because Bhuvaneshwar had given a brilliant start to Team India with his bowling, that India would probably have gone on to win that one. They didn't win that one, but what Bhuvaneshwar Kumar has won is the Player of the Series award for this particular series. But दूसरी तरफ both the captains, but talking about today's captain, stand-in captain is Kesha Maharaj. Talking about the series, I'll come to the South African captain for today, saying that, very disappointed that we didn't get a full game for the end of an exciting tour. We tried a few combinations, and still work in progress for Australia is probably the next, kind of mindset that now everybody has for that big campaign. But दूसरी तरफ Rishabh Pant on the series draw, there are a lot of positives. The way they showed character from 0-2 down was a huge positive, right? We are in a nice spot as we are finding different ways to win the game. I can only think about giving my 100% as a player and captain. So, if it is for you guys to decide on how I'm doing as a player and captain, I can only focus on giving my 100%. I mean, ultimately, we've had innumerable debates कि किसी को सेंचुरी क्यों नहीं मिलता है, इसको विकेट क्यों नहीं मिलता है, but ultimately it's a player who's giving the 100%. Does it really translate into success on that day of the game? Well, it is something that we all want to wait and watch. But dusri taraf, talking about this particular match, I'm pretty sure there are many memes and tweets doing the rounds on social tracker thanks to Bengaluru Rain, which has turned out to be a villain whenever there are cricket matches. So here we have Akash Chopra saying Indian cricket must invest in a couple of stadiums with a retractable roof. With the quantum of broadcast monies flowing in, it's imperative to take the weather out of the question as much as you can. That's quite an interesting, tweet, because he is somewhere down the line also taking a sly dig at BCCI for all the money that they've raked in. Nana Patekar, of course, making his way to meme trackers, saying cricket fans' reaction after today's match is abandoned. Control, control. क्योंकि obviously गुस्सा तो आता है इस सबको. Even Chirag would probably be able to explain that one better. Chirag, would you want to read this tweet out?
Sure. South Africa is still unbeaten on Indian soil in the shortest format. और ये इसका बहुत दुख है हमें. Series drawn 2-2. Came here with the full arsenal. Lost a few soldiers on the way, but didn't lose hope or stop fighting. Their cricket is heading in the right direction. बिल्कुल सही बात है. आकाश चोपड़ा बहुत एकदम से समझदार वाली बात करते हैं हमेशा.
And right after this, of course, if you thought that India is not going to be playing any more cricket until the fifth rescheduled Test match against England, well, you'll have to probably check your calendar once again, because an exciting series coming up. Jahan pe they will be playing in the Island series. This is the entire squad. Quite a few interesting names. I did see a comment somewhere in our comment section about how Umran Malik was not tested in the series. So probably the next one, the Island series, is probably where we're going to definitely see him, Rahul Tripathi, really capitalize on that opportunity. Coming back to you, Pratyay, on this Island series, I mean, we already know that it's a huge, fantastic platform. Last year we did see around July, when that second string team was sent to Sri Lanka, where Shikhar Dhawan was leading. We saw a few other names, getting another opportunity. So something very similar to those paths. Courtesy England Test match always happening in this particular time. We'll talk about that as well. But looking at that particular squad, one player to definitely watch out for, and no diplomatic answers. One definite, player that you think is going to make it in this series.
Well, one would be actually too few, because I think if you look at the names there, I mean, yes, of course, it's a second string squad. You are not seeing a lot of first choice players in there. But having seen Rahul Tripathi, the way he performed for the Sunrisers Hyderabad this season, his strike rate, his average, the way he anchored the innings, the way he played those aggressive knocks, in a season that probably Sunrisers Hyderabad would not really want to remember a lot, he was one of the great positives. He is definitely going to be one of your players to watch out for in this series. Of course, we have been constantly talking about whether Umran and Arshdeep will be getting a chance or not. तो you can say कि ये दो खिलाड़ी हैं जिनको शायद अब मौका मिलना चाहिए, क्योंकि इस पूरी सीरीज में constantly team management we saw that they did not tinker with the combination. 5 के 5 मैच एक ही combination को खिलाना. Of course, there's a good side to it, that you're backing your players, that you are supporting your players. एंड जब उन्होंने परफॉर्म नहीं किया है तब भी आप उन्हें चांसेस देना चाह रहे हैं. बट उसके साथ साथ, क्योंकि वर्ल्ड कप इज द लार्जर पिक्चर जिसके तरफ आपको अपनी निगाह लगा के रखनी है, और आप चाहते हैं कि आप उसके लिए खिलाड़ियों को ढूंढें, उनको परखें, उनको टेस्ट कर सकें. जितना ज्यादा आप इन सिचुएशंस में वो करेंगे, उतना ज्यादा आपको वहां पे फायदा देगा. क्योंकि देखिए, खेलने मैदान पे सिर्फ 11 ही हैं. आपके पास में 30 हो या 40 हो या 50 हो, उससे फर्क नहीं पड़ता. आप खिला सिर्फ 11 ही सकते हैं, और उन 11 को आपको तलाशना होगा. टीम बैलेंस आपको बनाना होगा. आफ्टर व्हाट हैपेंड इन 2021, किसी ने भी शायद उम्मीद नहीं की थी कि आप जब भी इंडिया जाता है किसी भी आईसीसी टूर्नामेंट में, तो आप ये उम्मीद नहीं करते हैं कि वो ग्रुप स्टेज में ही बाहर हो जाएंगे. लेकिन वो जो 2 हार हुई थी वहां पर पाकिस्तान और न्यूजीलैंड से, उसके बाद से वो टूर्नामेंट कभी उठा ही नहीं. और देखिए, मल्टी नेशन टूर्नामेंट्स में हमेशा आपके साथ में दिक्कत होगी, क्योंकि रूम नहीं होता है वहां पे आपके पास. अगर आप थोड़ा सा भी लड़खड़ा जाएं शुरुआत में, तो उसके बाद शायद वापसी करना कठिन हो जाता है. तो ये 11 खिलाड़ी आपको अपने आइडेंटिफाई करने हैं. Ireland, I know it's not, I mean, with due respect, they are not one of the toughest oppositions, but you also have to keep in mind that this Indian side is not the most formidable one that you are sending there. So I think that still, given the cricket they are playing in their home conditions, Ireland, we have seen in the last year, they have defeated South Africa at home. तो उन्होंने भी चीजें की हैं इस तरीके की. अगर आप उनका भी स्क्वाड देखें, कुछ एक्सपीरियंस खिलाड़ी भी हैं वहां पर, कुछ ऐसे खिलाड़ी भी हैं जो मतलब जिनके पास में स्किल सेट्स हैं. lot of their players are not very renowned, because Ireland cricket is still not one of those. They are not one of those teams which play a lot of cricket, but by no means can you take them lightly, or by no means can you take an international series lightly. So I think ये जो दो T20Is हैं, इसमें बहुत अच्छा मौका है फिर से एक बार इंडिया के पास में उन खिलाड़ियों को भी टेस्ट करने का जो वो यहाँ पे नहीं कर पाए. So I think three names. Of course, I mean you can name Kishan, Venkatesh Iyer and the likes, but I am particularly interested to see these three names: Arshdeep at international level, Umran and Rahul Tripathi.
ठीक है, तो मैंने एक ही मांगा था because I knew Pratyay was going to give me three, but he has still stuck, to that option of giving us three names. But it also shows how many talented people are out there in the Indian squad to get that opportunity. Coming to you, Chirag, before we of course wrap up as well, we have this particular series coming in Ireland. Uske baad, of course, India will be playing that rescheduled fifth test match as well. What do you think is going to happen there? Because it's going to be an amazing, the fifth test match, because things have changed for both the sides. Virat Kohli is also not at the helm of affairs. दूसरी तरफ it's a Ben Stokes
इंग्लैंड का
era.
फॉर्म अच्छा है, इंग्लैंड का फॉर्म काफी अच्छा है अभी वर्सेस न्यूजीलैंड. क्या खेल रहे हैं मतलब. तो आई मीन लाइटली ले सकते हैं बिल्कुल इंग्लैंड को, ठीक है. और अभी इंग्लैंड जो एशेस में थी वो उससे बिल्कुल अलग दिखाई दे रही है अभी. तो तो इंडिया के लिए एक काफी टफ कंपटीशन होने वाला है. वहीं इंडियन टीम भी अभी सीनियर प्लेयर्स को रेस्ट मिला है, तो अभी पूरी तरह से फिट होंगे और आई थिंक एक टफ कंपटीशन देखने को मिलेगा.
Right, and coming to you, Pratyay, it's going to be a different combination because you're also seeing some sort of a new era with the Ben Stokes and McCullum combination. दूसरी तरफ we're seeing Dravid and Rohit Sharma. It's quite interesting. RR BNB combination. But what is that cricket looking like now? Of course, in the context of a Moeen Ali also talking that he's officially unofficially retired. Iska matlab ye hai that during that Pakistan tour there could be him making that comeback in test format. The reason why I'm asking you is whenever you get a new coach, right, under a new captain, is the mindset always about what kind of a player they were, or do they continue from where the previous captain or the coach has left off? How does it work in your opinion?
See, I think Brendan McCullum, I mean, if you really talk about how the England cricket has changed in the recent, I mean, in the couple of test matches that we have seen,
Yeah.
the dramatic chase that England managed to do, that Johnny Bairstow doing what he did in that game, that shows a fearless approach. Because पांचवें दिन जब आप क्रिकेट खेलते हैं आमतौर पे आप शायद ड्रॉ प्रेफर करते हैं, स्पेसिफिकली जब आप सीरीज में 1-0 से आगे हैं. सो प्रोबेबली यू वुड स्टिल फील कि ये गेम अगर हम ड्रॉ भी कराते हैं, विल स्टिल कीप लीडिंग द सीरीज बाय 1-0, एंड प्रोबेबली हमारे पास में तीसरा टेस्ट मैच है जहां पे हम जाकर के कर सकते हैं, बट स्टिल गोइंग फॉर द विन. I think that was the biggest takeaway from me in that series. There's very, very little time elapsed in between the change of things between England cricket, because अभी Brendan McCullum ने अपना coaching stint उनके साथ में चालू किया है. Ben Stokes has started to lead them only a couple of test matches old in his full-time captaincy role. So I think it's very early to judge. लेकिन इन दो टेस्ट मैचेस में अगर हम देखें कि क्या स्कीम रही है या क्या थीम रही है, तो मेरे ख्याल से सबसे बड़ी यही रहेगी कि आप इंडिया में जब हमने देखा है विराट कोहली और रवि शास्त्री एरा, the one thing that you saw that changed, if you talk about the 2010 to 15 period and the 2015 to 2020 or 2021 period, इन अगर इस डेकेड को आप दो पार्ट्स में डिवाइड करके अगर आप देखते हैं, तो शायद सबसे बड़ा टेक अवे ये होता है that India has they have always gone for the kill. They have never wanted to settle. They have never wanted to take a safety first approach कि हम पहले मैच को बचा लें. तो अगर आपके पास में शायद आपको आखिरी दिन पे 300 रन भी आपको बनाने हैं, तो हमने देखा है कि इंडिया ने वो जाकर के किया है. दे हैव डन इट अब्रॉड एज वेल, एंड दे हैव डन इट. आई मीन यू कैन नॉट फॉरगेट द सीरीज. आई मीन ऑस्ट्रेलिया, इट ऑफ कोर्स कम्स टू माइंड. We lost in South Africa, but even there we managed to win a game after we lost the first one. So the first thing is that whenever a team, India have their backs against the wall, they have shown how to bounce back. Right now, England, they were completely downtrodden because after the kind of series 17 टेस्ट मैच 18 टेस्ट मैचेस में से अगर आपने एक या दो जीते हो, एशेज में आप 0-4 से हार के आए हो, वेस्ट इंडीज सीरीज आप हार के आए हो. सो व्हेन यू आर सो डाउन एंड आउट, देयर इज ओनली वन वे टू मूव, एंड दैट इज अपवर्ड्स. And right now, I think under McCullum and under Stokes, England have plenty to do, because no country plays more test cricket than England. They are the inventors of the format, and they are one of those sides which has constantly done well in the longer format of the game. So I think it's very interesting times ahead for England. Maybe in this particular World Test Championship cycle, you will feel that they have lagged behind a lot, क्योंकि इतने ज्यादा वो मैचेस अब हार चुके हैं कि शायद ये कह पाना तो बहुत मुश्किल होगा कि वो फाइनल में पहुंच पाएंगे या टॉप पे अपनी जगह बना पाएंगे. सो मे बी दिस साइकिल इज गॉन, बट द नेक्स्ट साइकिल एंड द फ्यूचर इज वेरी, वेरी प्रॉमिसिंग अंडर मैकलम and under Stokes. And just to touch upon your point, I think Brendan McCullum, as much as we all know about him, he is again one of those in your face kind of a player, जो कि शायद पीछे हटने वाले लोगों में से नहीं है, जो कि उस तरीके का अपना एक उनका नेचर है. ही इज वेरी अग्रेसिव, and like I said, he will never prefer safety, and that was very very evident by the way England went on to bat in the second test match on the last day, because how many times have we seen that kind of a knock? So I
Hmm.
think to just have those kind of things, to have that sort of an intent where you're not wanting to lose out on a match, or where
Yes.
you take risks even if it means that you're going to lose in the process, I think that is very important. You will lose some games in trying to attempt that. You will even be criticized for that, but on days when that will click, you will see what kind of thing happened in the second test.
All right, and of course ऑफ द फील्ड अगर मैं किसी बैटल के लिए वेट कर रही हूँ, वो है वसीम जाफर और माइकल वॉर्न की जो सोशल मीडिया वॉर होने वाला है ड्यूरिंग दैट टाइम. इट्स गोइंग टू बी एक्साइटिंग. But the fact that we were also speaking about coaches, Rahul Dravid has had a quick statement on working with 5-6 captains in the last 8 months. He has said it's been good fun, it's been challenging as well. We probably had about 5 captains in the last 8 months to work with. But yes, that's the nature of the game with the pandemic and the number of matches that we're playing. Managing the squad, the workload, and the changes in captaincy as well, it meant I had to work with quite a few people. And of course, at the end of the day, who wouldn't want to work with somebody like, Dravid with his experience, what he brings to the table? I mean,
Right.
each coach is unique, in itself, whether, how. Pratay just pointed out about what Brendan McCullum brings to the table as opposed to someone like Dravid as well. On that particular note, what I would like to tell all of you is that the end of this series, the result of this was quite a disappointing one, but there's lots and lots and lots of cricket in store for all of us here, right at Trick Tracker. That means for you all as well. So don't forget to join us every time we come back for a new series to be discussing everything to do with all the matches. And until, of course, we see you then. Goodbye from Pratay and me, and of course, Chirag as well. Chirag, would you want to say something to all our viewers before we wrap up?
या बहुत सारा क्रिकेट आपने बोल दिया, तो हम भी बहुत ज़्यादा एक्साइटेड है उसे लेकर, तो मज़ा आने वाला है.
And don't forget, Chirag will be making all those predictions once again. So if you want to know what more predictions he
सारी
has,
गलत, हमेशा गलत हो.
don't forget. I mean, it's all about trying and participating, which is what we like Chirag for. So we will see you on the other side of Trick Tracker. Until then, of course, stay tuned to Trick Tracker for the latest news in the world of